I am continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. So now we are reading chapter 23 in Ezekiel. This is again a longer chapter, so we will be splitting into two videos. Our first video will be verses 1 through 21, and our second video will then be 22 through 49. I also want to mention that this video does have a Joseph Smith translation in it. What the Joseph Smith translation is, this is an inspired translation or correction of the Bible done by Joseph Smith to restore those passages that had been lost over the years. Two sisters, Samaria and Jerusalem, committed whoredoms by worshipping idols. Both are destroyed for their lewdness. The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Son of man, there were two women, the daughters of one mother, and they committed whoredoms in Egypt. They committed whoredoms in their youth. There were their breasts pressed, and there they bruised the teats of their virginity. And the names of them were Aholah the elder, and Aholibah her sister. And they were mine, and they bare sons and daughters. Thus were their names, Samaria is Aholah, and Jerusalem is Aholibah. And Aholah played the harlot when she was mine, and she doted on her lovers, on the Assyrians her neighbors, which were clothed with blue, captains and rulers, all of them desirable young men, horsemen riding upon horses. Thus she committed her whoredoms with them, with all them that were the chosen men of Assyria, and with all on whom she doted. With all their idols she defiled herself. Neither left she her whoredoms brought from Egypt, for in her youth they lay with her, and they bruised the breasts of her virginity, and poured their whoredom upon her. Wherefore I have delivered her into the hand of her lovers, into the hand of the Assyrians, upon whom she doted. These discovered her nakedness. They took her sons and her daughters, and slew her with the sword. And she became famous among women, for they had executed judgment upon her. And when her sister Aholibah saw this, she was more corrupt in her inordinate love than she, and in her whoredoms more than her sister in her whoredoms. She doted upon the Assyrians, her neighbors, captains and rulers, clothed most gorgeously, horsemen riding upon horses, all of them desirable young men. Then I saw that she was defiled, that they took both one away, and that she increased her whoredoms. For when she saw men portrayed upon the wall, the images of the Chaldeans portrayed with vermilion, girded with girdles upon their loins, exceeding in dyed attire upon their heads, all of them princes to look to, after the manner of the Babylonians of Chaldea, the land of their nativity. And as soon as she saw them with her eyes, she doted upon them, and sent messengers unto them into Chaldea. And the Babylonians came to her into the bed of love, and they defiled her with their whoredom. And she was polluted with them, and her mind was alienated from them. So she discovered her whoredoms, and discovered her nakedness. Then my mind was alienated from her, like as my mind was alienated from her sister. Yet she multiplied her whoredoms, in calling to remembrance the days of her youth, wherein she had played the harlot in the land of Egypt. For she doted upon their paramours, whose flesh is as the flesh of asses, and whose issue is like the issue of horses. Thus thou callest to remembrance the lewdness of thy youth, in bruising thy teats by the Egyptians for the paps of thy youth. Okay, so the name Aholah means a tent, and Aholibah means my tent is in her. I think this is more referring, this is an allusion to the tabernacle, the tent of the tabernacle in the wilderness. Remember, the tabernacle originally sat in Shiloh, and that's in the northern kingdom of Israel. But it was brought down to Jerusalem by King David. And Jerusalem, of course, is in the southern kingdom. Now, Samaria is the capital city of the northern kingdom of Israel, and Jerusalem is the capital city of the southern kingdom. Samaria is called the elder sister because that is the land of Ephraim, the eldest. He is the birthright, so that is the eldest. They both go whoring after foreign gods. And I find it interesting that they are condemned for their lewdness, for their idolatry, in embracing the very culture that would eventually be their destruction. So Samaria embraces their neighbor Assyria. They are taken captive by Assyria. Jerusalem embraces the Babylonians take them captive. And Jerusalem has said that Jerusalem saw all the wickedness of Samaria. And they witnessed the destruction of Samaria. But they didn't learn anything from it, and they just continued in their idolatry. There is a very brief Joseph Smith translation here. In verse 17, near the end says, "And she was polluted with them, and her mind was alienated from them." That doesn't really make sense. Israel was still, or Judah in this case, was still embracing the idols and the foreign cultures. So saying that she was alienated from them doesn't make sense. Joseph Smith corrects this by adding 2 words. Says, "And she was polluted with them, and her mind was alienated from me by them." So this small correction points out it's not that Jerusalem and Judah is alienated from the Babylonians and from these idols, but that these idols are causing them to be alienated from God. It's a very small change, but makes the passage much more clear. Makes a lot more sense. But we're going to leave that here, and we will read the rest of this chapter in the next video, so see you there.